Thank you, Christopher. So as the Chief Equity Officer for the City of Austin, I say I have the daunting task to really provide this leadership and guidance across the city organization in terms of racial equity. And so imagine a city that has like over 44 departments, 13,000 employees. I say that we probably have one of the biggest footprints on the city itself, given the sheer number of functions that the city does and how it intersects with the work and the functions of what everyone else does on the call too. And one of the things that I realized early on was that we needed to really sort of improve our efforts to normalize this conversation. I really love when the mayor tells the story around the pushback that he got of really naming institutional racism, right? And the reality is that as we would try to tackle a lot of these different issues in terms of how we see institutional racism manifest itself in our community, you show up in spaces. And if you were to go around and ask if there's 10 people in the room, what's your definition of equity, or how do you sort of see institutional racism play out in our community, you'd probably get 10 different answers of that. And the analogy that I like to use is that as we do this work, I see racial equity as this patient, right? And we're all physicians. And imagine if, as physicians, we're all coming to the table with a different diagnosis of what that patient has. I would ask the question, how successful do you think that we're going to be in healing this patient? I would say chances are we actually may end up doing more harm than good if we're working from different places. And so I appreciate the work that Christopher is doing and Amina is doing, because I feel that it's part of a greater movement in our community to really sort of normalize these conversations. And in the city, we've really sort of done that through the advancement of a course called Undoing Racism, which, to Christopher's point, really sort of gets at the history around institutional racism in the United States and how that really sort of manifests or it plays out today in current times for us. And so we really believe that knowing our history is key. And as we explore the fabric of racism, we have to understand that it's inextricably woven and constructed into the founding principles of the United States. But I would say that our good news is that because racism was done, it can also be undone. And part of the mission in our Undoing Racism workshops is really helping to build the capacity of our staff and also the community to really become effective anti-racist organizers and really begin to understand the importance of how you really root yourself in accountability to the communities that are most negatively impacted by racism. Undoing Racism focuses on understanding what racism is and where it comes from and how it functions and why it persists and how it can be undone. It also begins to really give us a groundwork and a working definition so that we can all kind of begin to work from the same page or the same understanding of the issue that we're trying to tackle within our institution. And, you know, one of the things that we're really proud of is that over the course of the past 3 years, the Equity Office has trained over 400 staff and community leaders in the Undoing Racism workshop. This includes representation from all 44 of our city departments and offices, as well as directors from 25 of our city departments and numerous city executives, including our city manager, Spencer Crump. In addition, we've trained over 300 additional people from community organizations, nonprofits, and other major institutions. And, you know, our work around Undoing Racism is also connected to a very sort of deliberate body of work that we're doing within the city, which we've instituted, which is every city department is actually part of a comprehensive racial equity assessment protocol, where we work with departments to complete equity assessments. And from there, we do SWOT analysis. They do action plans, they take on specific interventions, they get better. And so for us, this is a body of long range work for us. And, you know, I would say that in terms of, as you sort of look to start this body of work and really do racial equity work within your organizations and institutions, we would say being able to identify how racism plays out in our community and acts as a foot of oppression is really key to that. Understanding how to critique systems instead of blaming individuals for the issues that we see in our community are important. And I would say acknowledging and understanding how we sort of show up in spaces with our own boxes, or a lot of times we say we're all socialized in different ways. We all had experiences and things that we were exposed to from our childhood through our adulthood, which really sort of crafts and shapes how we see the world. It crafts how messages that we've received throughout our life around race and racism. And I think being able to explore that and understand how that shows up and how that shows up to you when you do your work is also important. And at this time now, I'll pass it to Amina to talk a little bit about the work that they're doing.